So today we have Father Peter Owen Jones, who would rather be called Peter, and I'm going to call you Peter from now on. But it's wonderful to have you with us today, Peter. And we're talking about faith, spirituality, and religion today, and its role in society today. And yeah, we're just going to pick your brains today, and hopefully learn from your wisdom and experience. So welcome to Beads, if you like.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. So way of introduction, really, the way I came across you was I first saw you on the Extreme Pilgrim on the BBC as an Anglican myself, and I thought, wow, what's this Anglican up to? So I watched a bit of that. And then one Christmas, I came to a charity event for Entham House, and you were the MC there, and I looked at you and I said, I've seen this guy before somewhere. And then the penny dropped, and that's when I met you that night. And you were very gracious in saying, you know, whenever you want, I must ask you, and you can come and meet our pupils at Beads or come speak in chapel. So it was great to meet you. So it's great to have this opportunity to speak to you about faith, religion, and spirituality. So let's get straight into it. The Extreme Pilgrim, I think it's on BBC and people can watch it, but you went to see Kung Fu monks in central China, wandering Indian mystics, and the Christian hermits of the Egyptian desert. So for our listeners out there, can you tell us a little bit about that? So just the motivation behind it, why you went out and did this, and if you can briefly just explain that experience.
Well, I think you described it very well. Essentially, we started off at the Shaolin Temple, which is essentially a combination of martial arts and Buddhism. And then from there, we traveled to India to meet the holy men and women known as sadhus, and I lived with them for a month. I visited the Kumbh Mela, which is the biggest festival on the planet. And then from there, ended up in a cave in the desert with a wonderful Christian Orthodox hermit called Father Lazarus. And there was really no time to think. We just kind of got on with it and took each day as it arrived. And it was impossible to plan anything, not really. We just had to just dive in, and that's what we all did.
Yeah. That is interesting you say that. So no time to think, and also you just need to take each day at a time. And I think we'll get into this later, but there was one thing with youngsters today that I find as being a chaplain to them is they struggle with the rationality of it. They struggle to see religion and faith as something logical. So I think in the wake of the new atheist movement that sort of came out and said, you know, religion is for dumb people, if I may say so crudely as that. But could you know, because you experienced these rituals and these experiences, and could you talk into that about what religion may help a person today who may think, well, it's not for me because I just cannot logically or rationally engage. It's just not something that they can see that way.
Yeah, of course. Why on earth would religion be logical? You know, we've ended up in a binary world where there is coding, where we can just flick a binary switch and watch a binary program, where we can eat binary food and have a binary relationship organized for us on a binary platform called a dating app. So we are essentially, as a society, becoming almost overwhelmed by the mechanistic, by the machine, by the binary. What was so extraordinary about all three of those experiences were that they were not going to drop the knee to the binary. They were saying to all, do not get subsumed. Do not let your imagination be dulled and neutered by the mechanistic, by the binary function. If you want to engage with the great mystery of divine love, then you're not going to get any logical answers. You're going to have your logic challenged. And in that sense, I am with the Indian mystics. I am with Father Lazarus. I am with the monks in the Shaolin Temple. I do not want to live a binary life hemmed into a binary house, in a binary village, in a binary world. I want to go into the mystery of existence. I want to travel into the mystery of divine love. And yes, the atheists can yell as much as they like that it's not logical. No, it's not logical. Thank God. It's not logical.
Yeah. Thank you. No, it's when you're talking there, it remind me of the historian Tom Holland.
Yes.
I think he's a historian, and a social commentator, and wrote the book Dominion. But he's sort of an atheist, but he's sort of dipping his feet into Christianity. And the one thing he says is, "Let's keep religion weird."
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I can. I think normality is pretty weird. Should we keep normality weird?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's perspective. Yeah.
Let's keep greed weird. Let's keep war weird. You know.
Yeah.
Let's keep all of these apparently normal things weird. And therefore, I'm not in favor of him saying, this is coming from a purely binary standpoint, a logical standpoint. Whoa, religion's weird.
Yeah.
No more weird than the normality we have to find ourselves with.
Yeah. But I guess it's something you said in the in your BBC documentary, is that you wanted to go to these places to find that enlightenment and then the spirituality that you think Britain had once and has lost. But do you think it is those things have become weird to us modern Brits? Sorry, I'm South African, but to modern day Britain, that has become weird because something has flipped and we see things. The machine is eating us up, and we see things like they talk about angels and saints and sin and prostration and candles and incense and singing. It becomes weird. So how do we, I guess then we go, how do we, this is the big question, how do we go back to that default being of stepping into the mystery and those rituals? And I wonder if you can comment on that.
Yeah, I don't think we can go back to it. I think history is a great seduction. You turn on the television now and literally 40-50% of it is history. This is all about Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. This is all about the Neolithic Chimilai on top of the South Downs. I'm bored out of my brain, really. We're drowning in history. The invitation to each human being, to you and I, is to step into the mystery. We don't have to go back. It's a step forward. It's just to open ourselves up and say, okay, I'm going to engage. I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to engage in loving my neighbor as myself. I'm going to engage in loving my enemy. I'm going to engage in the holy, sacred state of prayer. And I'm not going to be bumped off that track by the machine. I have a human right to be able to follow this path. And Christ described this. He was always talking about the way and the path. I have a right as a human being to choose this path to reflect my experience of being humanity. And that's my choice. And if people want to think I'm a lunatic, I don't mind. They can think what they like.
Yeah. You said prayer there. One of my challenges as a chaplain today is, I guess, teaching prayer to a modern audience. What is prayer to you, and how do people engage in it, or can engage in it, especially our teenagers?
Prayer is connection with love. Prayer is an opening of oneself up to the divine presence of love. This divine presence is in everything. It is in every river. It is in every leaf. It is in every star. It is in every sparrow. It is in everything, and it is all present and everywhere. And prayer is simply an opening up of oneself to stand, to sit, to be held in that divine reality. And that's not so crazy. That's really where we are and how it is.
Yeah. Thank you. So my discussion with Rabbi Julie Jacobs in Miami, we had a lovely chat, and right at the end, there was a question that came from the pupils. Why do people cover their eyes when they say the Shema prayer? And she said, attention. You need to take all distractions away when you say that prayer, that the Lord God is one. And you should love Lord God with all your might and all your soul. And I find prayer to be a mode of attention. So when you sit, it's not necessarily talking.
No.
And maybe you can talk about your experience in the desert about this, but it's about a listening. Prayer is more about a listening to that divine voice and being present to that divine presence. And I mean, silence in today's age is also quite a challenge for people, where it's information overload, noise and sound from all sorts of sources. So could you perhaps speak into that being something people can engage in or understand? Because it's very much a street knowledge, is like, oh yeah, prayer is about asking for what I want, instead of it being filled up or actually paying attention. And then there your life can become a prayer. You can pray while walking around and looking people in the eye. And my goodness, do we need to look people in the eye? Because lots of us are looking down at our phones, or they have earphones on, or we have our earphones on.
What you're saying is we're all being pulled into the machine, into the mechanistic. Prayer is about taking care of other people. It is actually, essentially, you begin with loving your neighbor. So you begin with expressing love and gratitude. Gratitude is incredibly important for those who love you and for those who challenge you, and gratitude for those who you do not like. So you begin with the other, and only right at the end, if there is something pressing, do you ask for yourself. There is really no need ever to ask for ourselves, other than perhaps the reassurance of verbalizing it.
Yeah.
But by the act of offering up love for those you like and those you dislike, you are then taking part in prayer. That is prayer in many ways. Yes, if you can do 10 minutes in complete silence, try it. It's not easy. 20 minutes, not easy. But that is the challenge of our society. It's not just the challenge of each individual. It's the challenge of a society that has grown terrified of silence, terrified of what it perceives to be apparently nothing. There is a beautiful divine presence within that silence. It's just a question of, as the man said, knocking on the door.
It's like depends on the degree of attention you are giving it, or open to it.
I mean, it's a scary place. I'm going to let go of all my desires. I'm going to let go of my resentments, my frustrations, my angers that I hold on to give me a sense of myself and entitlement to be that individual. I'm going to let go of all of that and sit in the silence of what I find. That's not an easy thing to do. And because we don't have to press a button and get a result, it's not like that. It's not on that tramway. This is something completely different to that. And if religion has failed in the West, and it is failing, it's failing to really express that reality, divine reality, in an imaginative and compelling way.
I like to see prayer as a sort of radical acceptance of what is, and also sometimes, as you say, terrifying, because we are God and you only, and the truths are there, so that you're confronted actually with yourself, the overwhelming, terrifying self of yourself, that. And then slowly but surely, and more you do that, the more acceptance of yourself you get, so that you can give of yourself and understand yourself. And that's what I found in my silent practice.
No, I think that's beautiful. I mean, we all remember love thy neighbor, but do we remember as thyself? It's often harder to love oneself, because I know what a waster I am. I know what a liar I am. I know, these dark corners in myself. Whether I choose to reveal them or not is another matter. So loving me isn't so easy. This isn't about some moral line. This is about my capacity for love and for loving. In prayer, that's always going to come up. Let's say.
Thank you. So I guess a lot of words that are thrown around these days is spirituality. And I've come across a lot of people who tell me they are spiritual but not religious. Are the two, can the two live alone and separate, or are they inseparable, religion and spirituality? What would you say to that?
I would say, and that's a fine question, I would say they are two sides of the same coin. Whenever the two or three are gathered together in my name, I will be with them. But whenever two or three are gathered together in my name, they've got to actually organize a time to get together. So, and where are they going to meet? Are they going to meet in the middle of a wood? Are they going to meet in your house? Are they going to meet in a church? The moment you get all of this human organizational stuff coming in, and then, we have to have a shared belief system. Otherwise, what are we actually doing? Then I think you get religion. And that's just human kind of stuff. That's part of it. And then you get resentments, then you get ambition, then you get the corruption of power, and you get, as has been demonstrated rather recently, tragically and horribly, you get abuse. Spirituality is about the leaning into divine love and accepting or embracing the possibility that it is in fact divine love that holds all being in being. And But if we're going to work together here, if I, as a Christian, am going to sit down with a Buddhist or a follower of the Jain religion, then we've got kind of stuff to organize. We've got mental constructs, hundreds of years of theology and all of that to wade through. That's religion, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's not particularly, it's not going to set the world on fire. And that's how I see it. Perhaps two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
But I think they do live together. They just don't like each other some of the time.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. I like to think of it as sort of a river. So spirituality is like the river. It's a powerful force thing to get involved in. But if it doesn't have strong banks, it doesn't go anywhere. It sort of like goes all over the place. And what is that to my neighbor? If I just stay at home and do my spirituality, religion is those banks that get us out of ourselves, out of our houses, and together, and two or three gathered is powerful. I sometimes joke with people who ask me if I'm religious or not, and I say, well, I brush my teeth every morning, and I shake people's hands when I meet them. So what I'm trying to say is that we are religious. We're all religious in a way, and we perform rituals every day. So my next question is, what is the importance of ritual, and the significance behind rituals, even on that as simple as shaking hands?
I think rituals, we have some great rituals, and we have some not so good rituals. Ritual is about, there are personal rituals, but the way in which ritual is generally expressed is that this is a shared experience. The ritual is there to provide the vessel, or to shape the vessel for the shared experience to take place. And that would be how I define it. You go into some Christian churches, and the manner in which the ritual of the service is expressed is going to bore you senseless. And in other Christian services, you might get quite engaged. But that's just the vessel. It's just the vessel.
Yeah. So would you say rituals build community then? So because it's a shared experience.
I would absolutely say that rituals build community. I think if you look at any indigenous tribal communities, which is something that we have all come from, they are very much fostered and nurtured by the experience of shared ritual. And, as long as human beings get together, Christmas Day is a shared ritual. Going to a football match is very ritualistic. We love ritual. Human beings love ritual.
So we've spoken about religion, we've spoken about spirituality, but I'd like to touch on faith now. Faith, particularly for the health of a person. Now, I wanted to talk about the efficacy of faith for the healing of a person, or the health of a person. I wondered if you have any thoughts on that, sort of how faith can make us actually healthy. We've got a lot of self-help books, a lot of advice out there, but they shy away from the faith. They talk about mindfulness, and they talk about taking some time alone and walking in nature, that you never see.
I'm coming back. The doorbell's just gone.
Not a problem.
Parish priest stuff. Hang on.
Yes.
Come in. I'm just being interviewed online. Okay. Hi there, I'm back.
Brilliant. Yeah, so we're talking about the popular culture, popular advice out there to self-help, because we know we've got depression stats that are quite depressing, obviously. Anxiety is quite high, but we, go for a walk in the woods, and so on. I guess I know what the Elvin's problem is, not saying, pray or have faith. But could you talk into that and say how faith could be an option for youngsters? If they never ever have experience of faith or religion or spirituality, how could you speak into that about faith being something that could lead them to holism and health, especially mental health, and being well?
That's a very good question. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say that one of the biggest issues with religion is belief. That all we have to do is believe. Yeah, that's all we have to do. And I think belief and faith get very confused. And it depends what you believe in. But unless you have experience of it, belief isn't really experiential. It's pretty binary. I either do believe or I don't.
Yeah.
Unless you have experience of what it is you apparently believe in, and lots of people don't, then you're just going to end up as almost an empty vessel. Faith is about experiencing. It's experiential. It's, I will take this path because I feel intuitively. And now we're on very risky ground. And I hope you're listening, 17-year-olds, because I feel this. This is the right thing to do. I'm going to trust the feelings I have here in relation to who I am as a person, what I'm doing on this planet, why I'm here right now, and the context with which I am in, which I feel, I don't believe, I feel is one of divine love. If I can go with that, then I'm beginning to encounter what faith means. Yeah, you can believe whatever you want. You can believe that Christ was crucified, that he died, 3 days later he rose again, that there was a virgin birth, that, he changed water into wine. It's meaningless unless you experience the presence of the divine. And it is acting on that experience, which is faith. And yes, I'm asking all of you to do a crazy thing. And yeah, I'm going to keep asking until you try it.
Yeah. Goes back to what you were saying in the beginning, how it's a risk.
A beautiful risk. Have you got the bottle? Have you got the bottle? Yeah. All of you sitting in the audience now, have you got the bottle? Yeah, have you? Yeah. Don't have a go at me because I'm some lunatic that believes in divine love. Have you got the bottle to test it for yourself? Have you?
It's being open to being wounded, which the word vulnerable means, isn't it?
Absolutely, of course, and that's what the cross is all about.
Yeah,
that's what the cross is about. You can protect yourself, you can be in your bubble of belief, you can do what you want, but you open to this possibility. Are you open to being derided for the place you happen to take up? You open to, ridicule? Are you open to what? Are you open to having your heart broken? Are you open to love, to loving? That requires vulnerability and that requires courage.
Yeah. I mean, I think faith and trust are sort of quite close to each other, interchangeable.
Yeah, they are.
Or episte, to know, to have confidence that
Yeah.
you will be caught. I spoke about this in chapel last night.
Mm.
Our theme was trust, and trapeze artists, the one in the air that's flinged in the air, if they start reaching out and grabbing and trying to control the situation, they will miss. They will miss who's supposed to catch them.
Yeah.
The person, they just have to put their arm out and trust. They put their hands out and trust to be caught by the other one who's attached to something solid, right? So I guess you and I will agree that the solid foundation of that is God, and we know that we step out every morning to take the risk of loving. We know we'll be caught and held by the grace and mercy and compassion of God.
Indeed.
So we're talking to an audience who probably don't have that experience or understanding.
I don't think I had that experience when I was 14 or 15.
Yeah.
I was much more interested in the person sitting next to me, in what Led Zeppelin were doing, in, smoking my first cigarette, drinking, too much beer or whatever.
Yeah.
And therefore, I can only say, look, I'm with you on this journey, because at that age, it's quite a ride. This is quite a ride now, but you will come back. I will see you when you come back from all of that chaos. I will be here, and I will be saying the same stuff. I have you.
Yeah.
And I will be here if you want to knock on my door. When your boyfriend's left you, I will be here. Because I love you.
And I suppose this makes the sound very much like the prodigal son.
Yeah.
The prodigal son. And for reference, for our audience out there, if they can read the prodigal son, do you know, I'm not Protestant enough to know exactly
I'm not sure I am either.
Yeah. It's in the Bible. And it's I think Luke. And it's this experience of, we take control of our lives and we say we've got it all sorted and we're going to do what we want, and then we find ourselves at a moment of utter desolation. We remember what we left behind and we return. And Christianity, because this is what the talk's about, really, because we're coming from a Christian perspective, you as a vicar, is the understanding that God is not this being who is standing there with a whip because you've done something wrong.
No.
To punish you. No. But he's there, arms wide open, like the prodigal son explains. The son returns back home and is embraced, and a celebration second to none.
Yeah.
So it's quite beautiful.
It is.
Yeah. I just want to go back, because we kind of normalize the weird, or the cross is a central part of Christianity. And I think a lot of people on the street might think of that and say, well, it's a cross is done, so now suffering is over and sacrifice is done, because that's one sacrifice done already. But I wonder if you agree with me on this one, is that the cross is actually saying what is required of us. The cross is actually saying, in order to have eternal life and that pure joy, takes sacrifice, and that sacrifice is very risky. The sacrifice of our own intellectual faculty, maybe putting that down at the cross. We're getting into some deep Christian theology here, but I'm just saying how the cross teaches us that we are called to make some sacrifices in our life, and quite risky ones. And yeah, I wonder if you could comment on that. Or
I think the cross is saying, if you love, you're going to get hurt. If you are brave enough to love with all of your heart, with all of your mind, and with all of your soul, then at some point you will suffer. that love and suffering are sisters. They are entwined. And I would like to celebrate that reality, because in my very limited experience, I've seen it to be true. You know, if you've been married for 50 years, one of you is going to die before the other, and the one that's left will suffer. If anyone has ever had a boyfriend or girlfriend and they've left them or they've been betrayed, then you will suffer. If you dare to love with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and all of your mind, then you will suffer. And I think the cross, to me, demonstrates the divine capacity for love and the potential that lies within every human image for love. And it remains as a huge challenge to every single human being to love more deeply, to more boldly and more bravely. And I'm still and will continue to struggle with that part of history for the rest of my life. But it is an invitation ultimately to love. I'm not sure I can go along with the fact that, you know, God has sacrificed his son, so and we've all been forgiven. I didn't ask for that. You know, if he wants to do that, fine, but please don't involve me in this.
Yeah.
But in terms of a lesson in what it means to love, I go along with that 100%.
Thank you. I've got two more things I'd like to talk about and go back to attention again, and social media.
Yeah.
Can you speak into, we talk about platforms, so there's like social platforms and there's about being an individual and being self-made and everything. And it's just, isn't that so tiring? I think, you know, trying to reinvent yourself, and you're on this platform and you're trying to put a face and a front out there. Yeah. And I think no wonder we're tired and anxious and depressed if we on this platform all the time. And it distracts us. That's why I come back to detention. Yeah. Attention. I've been in detentions. Attention comes back to attention because we're so distracted by this, especially those youngsters today, and a lot of who we care for have been born with the screen. You know, the screen is there and it's this almost other reality, but it's like a platform, as I say, tiring. How do we snap out of it?
Well, I don't know. I think, you know, it's exciting. You know, I am told that, you know, if you're on a dating app and you fill in your profile and then someone sends you an emoji of a smiling face or whatever it is, then you get a little hit. You get a little hit. And so I can understand that it's exciting, but I would kind of really counsel very strongly against the addictive nature of it. There's a wonderful word in the English language called glamour. And at the moment, we're all being groomed to be glamorous, you know, to be the most glamorous person in the room, to be the most interesting, to be the most intelligent. And all you have to do is kind of, you know, present this face to the world and you might get 500 hits. This is all about narcissism and vanity. This is all about me. It's just about me.
Mm.
Nothing else. And the machine is licking its lips, smiling. I've got you. I've got you now.
Yeah.
You're walking around with me in your hand, with me in your pocket. I am providing you with information to behave in a certain way, to do certain things, to be seen with certain people.
Yeah.
I've got you now. I've got you.
Yeah.
And the sadness is that so many people just end up lost. Their soul, my soul, your soul, are lost
Yeah.
in this glamour.
Yeah.
We're lost in this glamour. And yeah, you go online, you speak to your friends on Facebook, on Snapchat, on all of this. Yeah, just be careful you don't get lost. That
Yeah.
you don't get lost and your soul doesn't become diminished and downhearted. And I would just say to you, if you burn your mobile phone, you're still the same person without it. Maybe it's time to get to know who they are.
Thank you. Yeah. So when you're talking about holding, I'm just trying to put my feet in the shoes of our pupils.
Yeah.
And they could equally turn around because they are very intelligent.
Yeah.
And say, listen, the God you speak of and all this stuff is also like, I've got you. I hold you, you know. But I guess what we as religious people or faith practicing will say, well, I know who I would like to be held by, rather, you know, someone who loves me, who's got the best intentions, or a machine that wants to not give anything back, but take everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm a Christian priest and but I can walk out of this anytime I want. I can just kind of put the screen down and walk out and I'm gone. And
Yeah.
But I know I'm still held. The question is, can you put the mobile phone down? Can you put the tablet down? Can you put the internet down? I'm not saying these are bad, inherently bad things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying how much of you is wrapped up in this stuff. How much of your time is it taking? Is it demanding? Because really it's feeding. It's feeding on you. And you know, I have a mobile phone. I have all of this stuff. But I'm kind of wary. I kind of going, okay, you know, this isn't the way that human connection is fostered. This is just a mirror. That's all it is. And I need to be aware of that.
Yeah. Thank you. Last question and topic. We have something here called the Philosophy Society, and we get together and we'll throw a topic out from politics to religion to ethics and so on and so forth. The pupils have asked for it to be Christianity and its role in schools. So obviously very relevant to them. And I wondered if you could say, comment on that, comment on what you think, if Christianity has a role in schools, first of all, and what is that role?
Okay, thank you for that. I think Christians, those who have chosen to follow the Christian path, have a role in schools. Christianity, as the ritualistic vessel, which we've talked about and discussed, for a shared experience and a shared coming together, a shared being together, as at best a set of moral principles, but I am uncomfortable with that. Yes, I genuinely can't think of anything better. When I look at all the religions, and I've been privileged enough to encounter many of them, I would say that Christianity is the religion of love. And if I had a choice if I had to say that there needs to be a religion in a school, I would put my hand up and say, well, I think Christianity would be a good place to start. And that's where I am with that.
Yeah.
Christianity isn't meant to make things better.
Mm-hmm.
It's meant to challenge the excesses of power, and meant to challenge those in power who have apparent power when they step over the line. That's fair enough. I think it needs to be doing more of that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Oh, as you've called me before, and if I may, brother. I do love that. Brother, thank you so much for today. I pray that our pupils gather as much as I did from this discussion with you. So much knowledge, so much wisdom. Thank you so much.
Go well, my brother. Go well.
Cheers.